Good afternoon. It is 1:03 p.m. and we are here for the regular trustees meeting. Today is Monday, March 25th, 2019, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions, modifications, or corrections?
Hearing no additions or corrections, I would move to approve the agenda for the March 25th meeting.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $351,606.65 for the March 13, 2019 payroll.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $440,650.91 for warrants through 3/20 of 2019.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
You'll have to make that motion.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 11th, 2019 regular meeting.
Second with discussion. There was one typo I found.
Oh, okay.
There's supposed to be a that instead of it's hat.
You know what page it was on? If you find it, just
I
give
can
it
find
to
it.
you and we'll be good. Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Abstain.
Moving on. See no citizens desiring to speak. Have no old business, no new business. We'll move to administrator.
Hey, thank you, Board. First item is I would like to request a special meeting to discuss the fire levy for this fall, and that will include all discussions regarding the levy, capital, and fire stations as well. I was looking potentially next week, April 3rd at 1 o'clock if everybody's available.
That works for me.
Works for me.
Yep.
Thank you. Next item is on page 4 of your packet is the legal agreements. The first one we have in front of you is Sir Dow and Turner. One note there is not an increase. I did put historical history regarding costs with the township on page 9. If there are no questions, I do have a resolution. And the resolution can be passed as presented. It does authorize me to sign on behalf of the board.
Are the only changes to the contract the date?
Yeah.
There's no other material change in language. I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to employ Sir Dow and Turner as legal counsel to the township as presented.
I second that motion.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. There is a change on the next one that's in your packet regarding TAF. I did have further discussion with TAF and some of the history we've had in regards to cases and negotiations. There is a change to this. They are recommending now no increase. So there is a couple typos in the resolution that's in your packet as well as the cost. They're agreeing to no cost increase. I did provide a clean copy of the chart that's in the packet showing the history with 2019's cost remaining the same. I do have a resolution here reflecting the same. The difference in this resolution and in your packet, besides the price staying at $270, is to authorize me to sign it.
I would move for a resolution to employ Taft, Statinus, and Hollister for legal attorneys for matters on an annual basis to represent the township, its officers, boards, and commissions in their official capacity, and to advise them on legal matters, and allow the township administrator to sign for us.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 20 of your packet would be the credit card policy required under state statute to have in place. As I mentioned before, if passed today, we will come back with the forms approved. Authorized user list would be Form A. Form C would then need to be approved in regards to the credit card and account limits. And once we have all those in place, every employee will have to sign Form B in regards to acknowledgement of the new credit card policy. And those are for those who use the credit card. There are no questions or additional comments?
I had a question. Okay, so you went back and you pretty much took the boilerplate from the auditor's office. Is that?
It's pretty much from the, looking at the statute as well as the policy, I think the OTA had put out. It's kind of a combination of those, but it's based upon the language of the statute.
Okay. And then, so my follow-up question was, at the end of the month, when the chair is provided the list to sign off on, is that an approval of the payment, or is that, because our credit cards come in at different times during the month, so I didn't know if that, is it an approval, or is it just that they've seen it and they sign off on it at the end of the month?
The statute says that in the direction that we go with it, that you, and we're given the authority as identified in the policy, a monthly, just a report has to be provided to the chair.
Okay. So
Right, it's just a review of that you've looked at the charges.
Mm-hmm.
It could be prior to or after the bill's been paid.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to have clarification on that. And then, I mean, I think the biggest thing is receipts, is just making sure that, you know, we get receipts in a timely manner. So if we don't get receipts in a timely manner, that's, you know, is that Alex then? You know, this is a
Yeah,
policy.
the policy says 72 hours, so that gives 3 shift days. So it covers, like, so if someone made let's argument say today is A shift or first platoon, they make a purchase, let's say after office hours, they have 72 hours to get all the information to the office.
Okay, and then if they don't, that liability's on you?
It's not a liability, it'd be subject to discipline.
Okay, but I can bring it to you?
Absolutely.
And you'll,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
There is a motion, if there's no additional questions or comments or concerns, on page 30.
I had none.
I'll make a motion to approve the credit card policy as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. On page 31 begins the bi-weekly report for the Greene County Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Moore is here to answer any questions.
I had no questions. As always, great report, lots of information. Looks like you're staying busy.
We are. Weather's starting to improve, and that brings some activity as well too.
As far as construction site management, we've got a lot of different projects going on at one
Yes.
time. Are we experiencing any problems there as far as builder's risk?
We did. There was a theft, and it was for lack of a better expression, a professional likely theft, and they got into one of the construction site trailers. So we've combated that with increased activity in there as well. But we also communicated with the builders over there. It was one of Mr. White's group And so we communicated with them and took some measures on where they and how they are securing their trailers in the evening. But it also seems to be an area thing too. I heard the city of Fairborn had some issues last night as well too, so very similar, if not the same. So we're being proactive with it right now.
I know one of the sites that's going up is, actually two of the sites that are gonna be going up are, one I guess borders the township, and that's the new facility going up on Factory Road.
Right.
So it's a new, storage facility going up there.
Right.
There's another one going up, over, off Harburger. But I'll just reference back to when I built the storage facility on Orchard.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheriff's department did a great job. I pulled up to the site and there was an individual loading all the metal up as scrap and hauling it away. And so I would just encourage any that have high intensity of scrap values to make sure that we're monitoring those.
Certainly, yeah. We've already spoke with everybody assigned here, as well as I've went even further and spoke with the other shifts at our downtown location, so we can even get some help and some overlap at all the upcoming construction sites.
Yeah. In my case, the 60 doors weren't scrap. So.
Right.
Okay.
I wanted to say I appreciate the increased activity, and I was happy to see someone on 35 yesterday coming home. That people on Sunday have a tendency to think that it's a 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I was real happy to see a sheriff.
I think some of them think it's 75 and 80.
Well, I know. So thank you for keeping that up.
Yes, ma'am.
Increase revenue, and they need to read the signs. So.
And then also, I know that we talked about the one incident. I know our partners, Beavercreek, has had an increase recently of theft of cards and a lot of immediately going out and charging it. Have we seen anything of that cross over into our area yet?
We have not seen that, but again, through sharing information and talking, we're aware that it's around. But as far as the township ourselves, we've not seen that.
Those are my questions. Great, thank you. Keep up the good work. Stay safe.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 48. This is the BWC grant, Striker PowerCat system. I know we did a show and tell. Mr. Kretz, you weren't.
I watched it.
You watched it from so, Chief Easter's here to answer any questions. The budget justification starts on page 46 with several motions as well, because they are taken out of different line items, one for contracted services, one for equipment, and one for the pneumatic. Also, Stryker's here to answer any question, and Chief Dorsey's here to answer any questions.
One, I'm happy to see this go forward. What I'd like you to do is tell the public why we're doing this, what we have already, and they didn't get a chance, I don't think, to see the presentation. And I'd like to make sure the public is aware of how we're trying to help our firefighters by saving their backs and our BWC claims. So could you explain a little bit to the citizens that are listening what we're doing?
Absolutely, and it's actually more than just back injury prevention. One of the pieces that we are looking to help solve is to make our patients safer during their transport to the hospital. Currently, the standard for cots and litters and how they're secured in a medic is designed to protect a patient during side impacts and vertical or horizontal impacts that would also prevent injuries to a patient during a rollover of a medic. And our current security for the cot does not protect against that. And we've identified this as a resolution to that because it does meet all the applicable standards that are in place today. We haven't made this transition for a number of reasons, one of those being cost and another one being that we have a fleet to maintain and we need some compatibility between units. And so the crews were very creative in looking for ways to help offset that funding, which is where the Bureau of Workers' Comp grant came in. So they were able to leverage the additional functionality of the back injury prevention by having a system that will load the cot basically for our folks, and that also helps protect the patient during the vulnerabilities of loading and unloading the cot. Because the cot is in a precarious position for those functions, it increases the likelihood that a patient could be dropped or tipped over on the cot because we have to get it up so high to get it into the ambulance. So it protects our workers and it protects our patients in a number of ways. The cot is one of the most used pieces of equipment that we have on the fire department. Greater than 65% of our EMS calls require a transport to the hospital. And so this piece of equipment actually gets used more often than just about anything else that we have. So this is a widely used piece of equipment. So you see in the packet we have a couple of different purchases there. The first one being for the Bureau of Workman's Comp grant, and we actually maximized that grant to the fullest allowed that we could. And so the return on that for us is an offset of $40,000 towards this project. And so what that grant application does is outfit 6 of our 7 cots with the upgrades necessary to work in the system. They will work without the system as well with the upgrades in place. One of our cots already has these pieces in place on it, and it was purchased with the cot last year with a new medic. Then one of the 8th cot is a bariatric cot. It's a specialized cot, and it doesn't have the same pieces of equipment here for this because it loads differently into the medic. So we are upgrading 6 of our remaining cots to fit this system, and then we're also purchasing with that grant 5 of the power load portion, the portion that secures the cot into the medic and allows that to be loaded and unloaded and help prevent back injuries to our crews during that time. Total cost for the grant portion is $139,885.86. Again, we received $40 back towards, or $40,000 back towards that from the Bureau of Workers' Comp, but then that will basically complete that purchase. That does not include the installation of those power load systems, or it includes the installation for the cot pieces, but not the power load systems because we maxed out that grant. So we have the installation on the second half of this purchase, which was identified separately for you. And that second purchase includes 2 power load systems for our 2 reserve medics. One of those is due to be replaced this year. So we accounted for the power load system for that medic in the medic purchase of the budget document that we provided to you back in November. So that will come out of that ambulance fund that was designated for that, and that's the vehicle that that power load system will go into. The other one will go into a reserve medic, and it comes out of the EMS fund. And then the contracted services for the installation of the power load systems will come out of the EMS fund, but out of the contracted services line instead of the capital line.
That's a wonderful explanation. Thank you for all the detail.
Since I was dropped 3 times off of on a cot in the Army and have received, after having a back injury, I'm happy to make this motion to purchase request 1003 to Stryker for 6 cot upgrades and 5 power lift systems in the amount of $139,885.86, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. Wonderful.
The additional motions board are on page 52 of your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase requisition 1004 to Stryker for 1 power lift system in the amount of $24,541.97, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Board, let me just clarify, so just by handing the purchase request, we're missing a 0 in the motions. It should be 10,003, 10,004, 10,005,
Okay.
10,006, 10,007. So
Okay.
we're just missing a 0 in the motions.
Okay. I make a motion to approve purchase request 10,005 to Stryker for 1 power lift system in the amount of $24,541.97, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 10,006. I'm sorry.
No.
We just did
I'm
five.
sorry.
Where's
yeah,
it? Yeah, where's it?
10,006
I checked the wrong one.
to Instatec for the installation of 7 power lift systems in the amount of $8,750, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
appreciated. Your attention to detail is noted and appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bruce,
And
thank you very
also,
much.
I mean, great job getting the grant. I mean, I think that's important for our citizens and our public to know that, you know, really that $40,000 is going a long way to make our cost per unit much more affordable for the citizens.
And
So,
I would give credit to the firefighters and lieutenants that worked on that with the human resources manager as well.
well taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 57 is the biweekly report for the HR department. Are there any questions?
I had none.
Is she on vacation?
Yes, on vacation there. Spring break.
Oh. I don't have any questions.
All good.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 60 is the biweekly report for the zoning department. Are there any questions?
I had no questions, just a comment of appreciation to Mr. Amrine for his response to the citizen that had questions regarding how and why we build so many houses in the township.
Yeah,
I agree. It was very
It was
detailed,
an
very
excellent
thorough.
response.
Yes.
I said that in an email, but I like to say it publicly. He did a great job in giving thorough details.
Yeah, we
And he is
met
also
on
on
that
vacation.
because we are not only receiving at least that one email that came actually through the website, but we are receiving phone calls, and it stems from some of the public forums that are taking place.
Right.
The schools are doing in regarding to facilities.
It's an indirect finger pointing, and it's understandable, but it's something that's unavoidable.
Right.
If you want to be a desirable place to live, people want to build houses there.
Yeah. Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 65, and the first is a service agreement with Hewlett-Packard Enterprises for support services for our servers. Budget justification is on page 65 with a motion on page 66, and I'll be able to answer any questions. If not, maybe Nathan can. This is this most likely would be, depending on where we go in phase 2 next year and servers, this may be the last year for this.
And how many servers are we down to now?
That's a good question.
I think a little bit of background would be helpful there, that
Yeah.
we started at X, we're now at Y.
So these are the actual physical
These are
hosts
physical, yeah.
that everything resides in.
Yeah.
So we have 3, we continue to have 3. Before the phase 1 project, we reduced the number of virtual servers down by over 2/3.
Yeah.
So we are down to, I believe, 12 actual virtual servers running the township's infrastructure, but these are the actual bare metal boxes that everything resides in.
But the support for the virtual is through Back to Business. The support, this is purely for physical. There's no
Correct.
virtual.
So this would be if one of those servers decides to die or has a problem, HP will send Back to Business or send us for Back to Business to install the hardware necessary to get that back up and running. So it's part of our disaster recovery plan, part of our maintenance plan.
Good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Are these physical servers backed up in the cloud?
Yes.
Okay. So worst case, if a RAID fail-safe or failover drive fails, you still have cloud backup.
Yes, and additionally, these servers are redundant to each other, so the virtual machines inside can actually reside on any one of these boxes, and they frequently move around during updates and other maintenance. So if we lose one, we can still function. If we lose 2, we can actually still function just at a reduced capacity. But if we lose all 3 and we get 3 replacements, everything can be restored from the backup in the cloud within a short period of time.
Are they all located in the same area?
They are.
Any other questions? I would make a motion to approve purchase request 9667 to Hewlett-Packard Enterprise for annual services in the amount of $3,237 and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Just to clarify, is that the correct number?
Yes.
9667? Okay.
All right. Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 66 is the biweekly report. Are there any questions?
I don't have
What
any.
is our contract period with Back to Business? Is annual, so it goes through the end of this year?
It's an automatic kind of renewal, so we would have to give, much like our other agreements, we'd give notice to, if we were looking at other options, or if we were not happy, we could, there's an out clause.
Okay. I think even sometimes when you're happy, it's not, it's okay to at least explore what other options might be out there. So I'm not suggesting that we make a change or anything of that nature, but I think every 3 years it's probably worthy of at least looking out beyond the comfort zone. So, and we're not there yet, so I know it goes the end of this year, but I don't know when that period of time would come along. If that's a 6-month, 3-month period, when you'd have to do that outreach.
Yeah.
There are other companies. It's a growing business, especially in the municipal side of it. So.
Okay. Roads.
Thank you, Board. Next item is purchase request for a pickup truck. Budget justification starts on page 71, and Mr. Parks is here to answer any questions.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This purchase was identified in 2018, and due to some of the issues with the state contract where they disqualified some vendors, and by the time they qualified new ones, the build-out date was so quick, we held it, identified it in the 2019 budget. As I did in my packet, it's an additional vehicle. What this will allow us to do, currently when we go out to a job site, usually have a pickup with all of our tools in the back for that specific purpose. And then we have another one that brings, either we use a trailer or another vehicle to bring out supplies, whether it be plywood, 2x4s, or whatever. By getting the tools out of the bed, will allow us, number one, to be able to load materials there, which should free up a vehicle for other purposes. And number two, being a 4-door crew cab, I can get more people in a vehicle, and I don't have 3, 4 vehicles sitting on a job site. And it kind of gets tight when you get back in some of our subdivisions where you're parking way down the street. We're recommending a Ford F-250 4x4 with utility body, which was on the state bid. Actually, it's at a fairly nice price. One of the options we did choose, though, was to go ahead and upgrade to a, it's called a snowplow prep package, which gets you the heavy-duty cooler, heavy-duty alternator,
Dual
and all that.
Yeah.
And if we push comes to shove and we ever need to put a snowplow on it,
It's prep.
it's set up to that, for that. So we've kind of forward thought this process.
Do we have a plow that could put up, we have to put on
We
there?
would,
You have one already?
we do not have one already. We would have to go out and purchase it, but right now, none of our pickups have plows on them.
So this would have the capability of it.
Right,
Yeah,
actually,
it
this will
would
be
be,
our,
it would be fitted, but it would have probably the dual battery. It would probably have all the wiring up front, the harnesses, the connections.
it wouldn't have the harnesses and connection. It gets you the,
Not so you know the plow, if you're doing a
Yeah.
Western or
right, you'll get that with the plow
a
set up.
Wasp.
But actually, this will be our third one that's set up that way.
Right. Well, I mean connection. I mean it'll have the plug ready to.
No.
No, not
It just
so
gets you the heavy-duty cooler for the
Got it.
transmission, heavy-duty alternator, and the heavy-duty electrical system as far as the vehicle goes.
Is it going to require a bigger differential too?
No.
No.
Confused me though, if you said that this is the third vehicle that we would have to
Right.
have this capability, that's correct?
That is correct.
But we don't have any plow to put on any of the 3 vehicles?
No, because we don't have enough people to put in all those vehicles. We have basically 2 non-CDL vehicles, which would be our 1-ton dump trucks.
Right.
And actually, push comes to shove, 5 big trucks with plow capacities, which puts us at 7. We run 2 shifts. Right now, it's 4 per shift. These would be more for, as we move forward, if we see a need, to just put somebody in a pickup truck to go do parking lots or whatever, we can do that. The vehicle's already done.
Plow
But
prep
if we
is
have 3
normally-
vehicles that are gonna be already done, we have no plows to put on them.
Right. At this time, we don't
Why
need
would
them.
we keep buying vehicles to put plows on when we have no plows?
It gets you 2 different, the 2 things that it gets you is a heavy-duty transmission
I
cooler.
get that, but my concern is that if we don't have any plows, we have to, with how old are the first vehicle and the second vehicle?
They're both the same age, and I do believe they're 2014s, 15, somewhere in there.
Bought at least one since I've been here.
Right.
In 5 years.
Because what I'm concerned about is if we put this package on the vehicle.
Right.
And we don't buy the plow, and then the vehicle ages out, we've never used the package, we never have the plow.
However, when you price in the price of the vehicle on state bid, that option's less than $300.
I was gonna say, it's
Okay.
usually a couple.
All right, now there we
Where-
go.
whereas-
Now,
Whereas if you try to
you're talking
retro,
And I left that
dollars to me
part
now.
try to retrofit it in
Oh,
afterwards,
yeah,
you're
it'll cost you
talking
a
a
couple
couple
grand.
thousand.
Right.
Thank
yeah.
you. Now,
Yeah,
You hit the
because
button.
if you add the plow and everything on the initial purchase, it adds another, I think it's like 2,500 to $3,000.
so do you think though, if for the 2020 budget, that maybe we should be looking at maybe purchasing a plow to put on one of the 3 vehicles?
That's something
In
we take into consideration, yes. I mean, right now, our current operation, we don't have enough physical bodies to put in that many
Okay.
vehicles.
All right, well, I like the cost of $300, so now I feel better.
The only questions I had, one was, and it was based on, not on a discussion about a plow, but based on a discussion of carrying people and tools, was if number one, if it was even available on a state bid, a 3/4 ton Sprinter van versus.
It is not.
Okay. And the reason I brought that up is because I was just in a city where I saw one.
Right.
And it was pulling a trailer with a little skid steer on it.
Right.
It did not have a plow. They don't need plows in that city.
Right.
But it was just interesting that they had put everything inside, and they actually had a ladder rack, and they had a tube on up top of it for pipe and conduit. And it was
Right.
a nice little setup.
Right,
So-
and,
And for keeping things out of the elements and out of visibility.
right, and basically what we're using this for is to get the stuff out of the bed so we can
Yep.
try to put everything in one.
So you'll have all side compartments as well?
It'll have 3 side compartments on each side,
That's good.
which will shift the tools from the bed
Right.
in compartments, and
So you can send one truck out and it should be able to
Right.
do a job theoretically.
and
Depending on how many
theoretically,
supplies you need.
depending on what job we're doing, you're not having to unload everything out of the bed just to go get material. so
The
on
other
and so forth.
question I had was, and I ask this every time we buy a vehicle, is
Mm-hmm.
why not lease versus buy?
Um,
A commercial structured lease, either a capital lease or an open-end lease.
The only thing I know that's out there, as we've researched this in the past, is lease purchase. I can go back to
Well,
when
a
we
lot of
kind of
times
had the,
With the
It
lease
seems-
purchase, there's an interest
Right.
built in on the lease
Sure.
purchase.
right,
option.
and the other thing there is, I can go back to the downturn when I think we weren't making, or not making, but we were having issues with declining revenues. All the stuff we own was paid for. All we did was push purchases off. During that time, you're still having to make those lease payments. The other downside to that, just because of the type of business we're in, those trucks are gonna get beat, banged up, and you're gonna be paying more at the end of the lease for those repairs. It's kind of the side we've taken when we've looked at that option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay to approve this. I think in the future, we need to study that more, only because there are other companies that are in the same business that lease vehicles. They're in construction, and they're in road repair and things like that, and putting in building roads. And they lease vehicles, and they do fleet leases, and they rotate those. The two vehicles I bought off GovBids, one from the city of Centerville, was a 10-year-old truck with 72,000 miles on it. And so the mileage wasn't the issue. It had hit their rotation cycle, essentially, is why they unloaded it. And I look back and I think, they were a prime example. I think it's worthy, at least in the future, of doing and I don't even know if a lease is something that shows up on a state bid, but there are companies that specialize out of Cincinnati, I know of, and a couple others that specialize in fleet leases, and specifically for construction companies.
Okay, well, that's something we'll take a further look at.
I don't disagree that, the conditions that they work within are
Correct.
not your typical consumer type lease.
Right.
So it's a different animal. But that, and like I said, the Sprinter van seemed like something of interest at some point if it's not plowing. I don't know how they perform at plowing.
In that application, I think it would be more for building maintenance, where you're going from, where this is, that part of my staff does a mix.
It was a city with a population of over 2 million, so it was a
Yeah,
completely different.
they probably have their separate division of it. You got the guy that works on this building and that one.
Okay.
Hearing no other questions, I make a motion to approve purchase request 9699 to Middletown Ford for a 2019 Ford F-250 4x4 with utility body on state bid in the amount not to exceed $35,800, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second, with one more question.
Yes, sir.
Do they offer an extended warranty
No, they
for
do not.
commercial use? Okay.
Not as part of the state bid, but
I don't know if you could purchase an extended warranty.
yeah, it would be just a little bit off of, I think it's 8% below retail. But with the staff we have, we keep a fairly good maintenance of them.
Okay. Does the body have to come off this to change the turbo boosters?
Oh, all new vehicles do. You will see that in my 2020 budget for a different type of lift.
Okay.
Because I could have paid for it after the last repair.
So noted.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item's on page 72 is the HVAC replacement unit for the library. As you're aware, we've looked at repairing numerous times repairing the roof. There was some discussion that if we had to remove the unit to potentially replace it because of the age, so that we're not a couple weeks after we fix the roof, the unit goes out and then have to replace the unit. Budget justification starts on page 2. Mr. Parks is here to answer any questions. Motion is also on page 72.
And this is another one of those that's been ongoing. We've probably we're 8 months in to the point they have buckets and plastic on the inside of the library. Our final ditch effort for a repair was to lift it as high as they could off I think they call it the curb, to try to patch it. It lasted for about a day, came right back. So that's why we're recommending, if we're gonna lift it, because it's not gonna be easy to get a crane in there, the unit itself's 20-some years old, to go ahead and just bite the bullet now, replace it, make the mess all at one time, and this will take care of that leak. I don't know where the next leak will show up, but it'll take care of this one. And we were fortunate enough in this year's budget, I put in like $10,000 for site improvements. And
Yeah,
there's
we've known this was coming for a while.
Yeah.
So then they're not gonna set it back down on the existing curb. They're
No,
gonna
no.
they're gonna redo everything.
They're gonna redo the whole
And then the
curb.
roofers are gonna come in and they're gonna redo everything.
Right, in that area.
Okay.
And actually, the roofer's the one that found where it was actually coming from, because they went all the way down to the deck and did their investigation.
And that's not impacting our warranty with them or anything?
No, this is a different section of the roof.
Got it.
But theoretically, once this is done, we've done the paint job around it and everything, sealed it, we fixed parts of the roof, it should be good theoretically.
Theoretically,
We've done
but
two-thirds of the
the
roof, right?
the front half, which was done in the addition in 2012, we still have some life on that warranty. So,
There's always windows.
well,
That's
Like-
that's the next thing.
Have we-
we've addressed some of the window issue.
Have you done any of the lighting poles, have you cleaned out?
I have enough left in that site improvements to do the
Do those poles?
the three, I think I have enough
Cause they are
left.
nasty looking.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh,
And kind of how we got to the quotes you have, as we went back to 3 vendors that the township has done business with in the past, that we know do commercial work. And Tram came back the lowest, even with the addition of the optimizer option, which what that does is, we'll call spring. When the inside's calling for cooling, it will pull in outside air and not kick the AC on.
Oh, that's good.
And it was like $1,000 to $95 for that option, which A, is gonna save energy. B, it's gonna be less on the compressor for the air conditioner and the equipment itself, so.
That's a good save.
I had 3 questions for you.
Yes, sir.
One is, what is the warranty that they are including with the unit?
I do believe it's 1 year.
Okay. And do they offer an extended warranty?
I did not ask,
Okay.
or I should say my staff did not ask.
Okay. I would encourage inquiring on that whenever we buy a rooftop or a ground unit.
Okay.
Only from the standpoint of, and I found out the hard way, when I bought AC units for an office. I did not ask, and then I asked after the fact, and it came back and it was gonna be like $5,000 for a 5-ton unit, and it made no economic sense. When I built other buildings that were climate controlled, I asked up front, and they were Lennox systems, and it was essentially a $275 registration fee to extend the warranty 5 years on the major components. And so I did it, obviously.
Right.
But you had to file that registration within 90 days of when it was installed. And so I didn't know if York offered anything like that.
I don't,
or if
and
we
I can
could
ask.
inquire on that. So, but 1 year, obviously, is
Right.
that's usually things happen at the 13th month.
Yep.
The second thing was more of a just a construction type question is, are they, I didn't see it in their quote, are they putting a smoke detector in the unit, or is that already in the ductwork?
It's already in the ductwork.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so it's all taken care of, they're not replacing that, and we don't have to replace that or
No.
require anything? Okay.
No, basically it's the curb up top.
Yep.
And the,
so it's a duct smoke detector is what we
Right.
have in there, yeah, that's a code thing.
Well, being 20 years old, I didn't know if it was in there or.
it was
still
upgraded when
working.
we did the
Yeah.
fire suppression system.
Yeah,
Okay.
Or I should say the library did the fire suppression
Yep.
system.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 9700 to Train Mechanical for the replacement rooftop unit at the library in the amount not to exceed $8,200, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes,
Thank you, board. Next item is the emergency purchase for Medic 63.
Alex, I have one more
Oh, sure,
question.
please.
Did we had a citizen that came last meeting, have we looked into,
Actually, Mr. Zahariff and I had a conversation with staff at the library. They are looking at doing what they call a children's garden on the side of the building, which would make an entrance there. So we're kind of waiting to see where that pans out. Because to be honest with you, to take it from where the city sidewalk ends and to make it ADA compliant, there's no easy way to get to the back of the building. It didn't matter which side of the library lane you go on, or if you even went to the other side. That's kind of what we've been dealing with from day one with his request.
So we're waiting for what they're gonna do, and
Right.
then it's gonna be revisited.
Yes.
And at
Yeah.
some point, then you'll reach out to them, please.
We
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the emergency purchase request for parts for Medic 63. Budget justification starts on page 72 with a motion on page 73.
I have no question.
I had none.
I didn't either. I make a motion to approve emergency purchase request 10,008 to Interstate Billing for emission control parts for Medic 63 in amount not to exceed $4,200 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the biweekly activity report. Are there any questions for Mr. Parks?
I have 0.
I had no question.
I had 0 as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Under fire, Chief Dorston will be here to answer any questions. First is a request approval for a resolution affirming the fire department's scope. Budget or reason for it is on page 102 of your packet. And Mr. Dorston's here to answer questions.
Could you just reiterate just a brief background on what you're asking us for?
Part of the accreditation process is to verify the legal standing for the fire department at the governing body, which would be the board in this case, officially recognizes the fire department, the duties it performs. And going back and looking through all the old records, there was a hodgepodge of motions and resolutions and votes in the past that have come together since 1946, and this is just bringing all that together to clean up the resolutions so that we have something clean and concise that we can use as part of the accreditation process to officially recognize the fire department's existence.
Board, you can pass it as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution affirming the fire department's scope and authority of response and operations as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is an addendum, or I shouldn't say addendum, a separate agreement with City of Beavercreek for dispatch services that's related to our agreement with the Bath Township Trustees regarding fire protection to those areas that we are protecting with that agreement. It is a flat rate of $17,070 a year. Since we didn't build an increase every year with our 3-year agreement, cities agreed that that'll be the flat rate for the term of the agreement. Chief Dorston and I will answer any questions. There's a motion on page 102.
And so we determined that a flat rate is better than or comparable to what we anticipate a per call to be?
Yeah, initially we proposed a per call. City felt more comfortable to be similar to our other agreement that is a flat rate. They came back with a flat rate with the CPI formula increase that we built into the dispatch service agreement. I personally didn't feel comfortable with that since we didn't have a built-in increase with our agreement with Bath Township. So it's a flat rate for 3 years.
Any other questions?
What page is this on? I'm sorry.
102,
102.
And the link,
the bottom.
there should be a link there that takes you to page 110.
Okay.
There's no additional questions. There is a motion authorizing me to sign it on page 102.
Hearing no other questions, I make a motion to authorize the agreement for additional fire and emergency personnel dispatching service and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Should this motion have a dollar amount associated to it, or?
It just references back to the agreement, which is the 17,000, but you can add it if you like.
Isn't there a resolution?
It seems like,
Is it
that's what I
number-
was looking for. It just seemed
Well,
like
it's
there
number
should be.
2, and when you press on it, it takes it to a resolution.
Oh, that
Dispatch.
resolution may take you to the resolution for affirming. If you turn to,
Oh, is that not the same thing?
yeah. So if you turn to,
Because it would really be an amendment to the agreement if
no, it's not an amendment to the agreement. So
it's a separate
it's
agreement.
a totally separate agreement. So
And it should have a
much like the
dollar
motions before, it's just authorizing me to sign the agreement.
You understand what I'm saying? If it's a separate agreement, to me, it should either have a dollar amount or a period.
It does. If you press, well, there is a resolution.
But in the motion, I'm saying, it
Well,
doesn't.
there's a resolution, so I just don't think if they didn't print it out, because it's right here, it's on page 110.
So we're approving the resolution then as presented.
Page 110,
110 is the agreement. I have the agreement.
it's a resolution.
That's kind of what I,
Yeah.
Oh, it's the,
Yeah, the 110 is the agreement. I have that here. Did not give that to you because once you authorize it, I will sign it. But there is not a resolution in the packet.
We should just be
It
able
just
to.
reads as a resolution.
Yeah, you can just read
much
it
like
as a
we've done-
resolution.
Much like we've done with other agreements.
but does the,
Here's
Just add,
the agreement.
as
So if you'd like to look
presented.
at it, this is what you're signing, or what you're authorizing me to sign, which shows the amount in the agreement.
okay.
So you want me to amend the motion?
Does it have the period on it, or is it a?
So if you go to page.
My question is relative to, so for this year, is it being prorated, or is it?
Yeah, it starts, effectively it starts with the agreement. One thing that we agreed, as I pointed out in January or whenever we passed the agreement with Bath Township, that we would have to come back with a separate agreement for dispatching. The city did agree to go ahead and start dispatching for us.
Right.
So it does go back to January 1 in regards to billing.
Okay, so January 1 through 12/31 of 19, 20, 21. So
Yes.
this agreement will be through December 31st, 2021 in the amount of $17,070 per year.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay,
And it matches the timeline of our agreement with Bath Township.
okay,
And it has the same out clauses, so for whatever reason, if
Oh,
Bath
so
Township comes to us next year and comes up with a different option, we have the out clause in that agreement to get out.
okay. That's the premise of my yes.
He said
I
yes.
think I need a second first.
So
Second.
you'd be second.
Second,
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kretz,
yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
And I'll need that back to the city manager and I can sign.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, board. Next item is a request the board to certify the amounts for the auditor for the levy. We are asking for you to consider a 1 mil. We'll be able to forecast anything off that 1 mil certification for the auditor, whatever the numbers we get back.
And I would ask that, similar to what we did on road levy last time, is we asked the auditor to certify more than one level so that we know in advance where we are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
Well, with the 1 mil, we'll be able to determine,
You can do the
once you
math,
we
right?
can do the math, and once we go back, we can certify the amount that the board chooses, and then we'll have to go through that, we'll certify that amount. Once that comes back, then we have to pass a resolution with that amount, plus the levy language, and then where the law has changed, I shouldn't say law has changed, what we've done here locally with the auditor is that resolution with the levy language then goes to both, back to the auditor and to the Board of Elections.
So the answer was, you're comfortable with
Yeah, I'm
only
comfortable with the
certifying
one, because we'll be
Okay.
able to
We can-
show what a
What a
2
two
or
or one-
1.5 or 2.5 or a 3.
Once you have that number.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move to approve a resolution requesting the county auditor to certify revenue for a fire levy as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kretz,
Yes.
Ms. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Can I ask a question? When you say as presented, but they have this in here, can I use this information to give more detail? Mr. Kretz, you did it as presented, which is fine, but,
I don't-
oh, there is a resolution.
Yeah, there's a
Just making
resolution.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And once everybody signs it, I'll try to get a copy over to him tomorrow to the auditor's office. So he's usually, the auditor's office is pretty good at turning around. I'd like to have that information for our
For that
Wednesday
meeting.
meeting. Okay.
All right, moving on.
Thank you, board. Next item is purchase request for 56 replacement sets of fire gear. Budget justification starts on page 103 with a motion on page 104. Chief Dorsey's here to answer any questions.
And those, that gear is replaced, they are trashed, aren't they? They're not, you can't, or does, they go on government surplus and see if people,
You gray market them, don't you?
Pardon?
You gray market, you gov bids them.
Yeah.
We gov deal them, but we put the caveat that they're either expired gear or no longer fit for IDLH conditions.
okay.
Yeah, we definitely put a disclaimer on that one. We do rotate some out for some of the equipment for the auxiliary and now the
The
Explorers.
Explorers.
So, because they're not allowed to go into structural firefighting, so
So that would be
they're
good
able
for
to
them.
wear some of the gear that we provide.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Couple questions. As far as, and it's a perception, it may not be a reality, but it appears we are approving more and more gear more frequently than we were 3 years ago. And I know we've increased, we went to an all-career firefighter group, and I know that we made a purchase at that point. Sorry about that, guys. And then I know we've done at least 18 hires of new, and so I know we're buying for those groups of new hires, but it seems as though we are replacing more sets more frequently. Is that a reality, or is that?
We are replacing a lot more, and part of it is the new hires, so we're replacing it. But we're also right in the middle of the rounds where we're dealing with our 10-year expiration date of a lot of gear. So in 2009, we made a very large purchase of fire gear. All that expires this year, so what hasn't been taken out of service through the inspection process, where it's no longer deemed usable, it's expired. So, and following the NFPA standards, it's due to be replaced. So that's part of it, the additional hiring. And then, for example, of the 56 sets this year, 20 sets expire for the 10-year service life. 22 have been deemed non-serviceable through our inspection process, which means in order to get it fixed, being 8 or 9 years old, it's not cost effective to repair that gear, so it's more cost effective to replace it. And then we have 14 sets for second set of gear, which is a standard the board approved back in '09, for 14 personnel that we've hired over the last 2 years. And then of that 14 sets, 5 of it is to get people who are in loaner gear as their second set of gear, because what we didn't want to do was buy them 2 sets of gear at one time. So our vendor has graciously provided loaner gear for the last 3 years for a couple of these employees, so that we could spread that purchase out so that we're not replacing 2 sets of gear at one time for an employee.
Okay. Is the NFPA standard, are we required by NFPA, by statute or something to follow that?
We're not required to follow it, but it's industry best practice. So if we didn't follow it and something were to happen and we had a person injured because of bad gear, you can run down the legal path of liability and all of that stuff. And that's a position we've chosen not to put the fire department or the township in. So by following the NFPA standard with the inspection process, every year our gear is inspected. It is deemed worthy, so we're not running the risk of having a liability.
But in this case, we have gear, and in not just this case, in other cases, we will have gear that'll pass the physical inspection or the visual inspection, but it's expired based on age.
Correct.
And the only thing I'm looking at is we used to do that with trucks and with medic units, and we we looked at a different way of evaluating equipment to say that a piece of equipment, even though it may have hit the age, it hasn't, it's not expired for our use. It still meets our use. And that's my only question of, it's not a question of putting anybody in harm's way, but if we have gear, no different than if we had a piece of equipment.
I completely understand. My last set of gear was in good shape. It was still serviceable. It passed its inspection. However, it was 10 years old and needed to be replaced, you know, through proper storage and all that. And my different level of use, unfortunately, we're going to have that. The way the standards are written, it's to protect firefighters and departments that don't take care of their stuff the way we do, so that they're not out there in defective gear and running the risk of getting injured.
There's also an Ohio administrative code that is part of the enforcement as well. So we have an NFPA standard, which is nationwide, and then what Ohio has done is adopted
The NFPA standard.
The NFPA standard is Ohio administrative code, which is enforceable. So when we say standard, yes, that is a standard, the industry standard that unfortunately if something would happen, NIOSH would definitely be questioning. But what Ohio has done is adopted as an administrative code, which then gives it a lot more enforcement.
Yeah, and they're starting to do a lot more of that with the NFPA standards now.
So the volunteer groups that buy our stuff off Gov Deals and use it as in a volunteer department, they're putting their people at risk then?
Based on the standard, absolutely. Yeah, and quite frankly, there's some volunteer departments that will probably issue gear, but based on those state certifications, because each state has different, they can adopt the national standard in regards to structural firefighting training. So I believe now it's level 1 and level 2. Some places won't allow a level 1 firefighter to go into an actual structure, but they can get into the what we call the hot zone or hazard zone and actually assist the level 2 firefighters. So that would be appropriate for the gear they would buy off Gov Deals. But in regards to structural firefighting, once you enter that hazard or into that structure to fight fire, you have to meet the standards of the Ohio Administrative Code and the NFPA standard.
It's purely a question of is there another way to look at it, no different than what we did with other equipment.
Yeah, it all depends on what level of liability you want to assume upon yourself at that point, which, you know, I truly understand where you're at because
Right,
looking at some of our
gear
gear.
and jump in an 11-year-old truck.
Understood.
But even the maintenance of that truck is an NFPA standard as well. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
and the lights and the paint and the reflectivity is all standards that are required.
Yeah, and part of those committees that make up is the manufacturers, not only apparatus, but of the fire gear and stuff.
Lobby
so,
groups are powerful.
yes.
They
Yeah,
are.
they're-
Yep.
Chief, do you inspect internally, or do we have somebody that?
We have a contracted service now that we go out through Phoenix Fire Safety Outfitters, and it just started going to them. The first year we did it, it went back to Lion Apparel, the manufacturer of the gear, but Phoenix can turn the gear around quicker for our folks. Follows the same standard for inspection, but we used to do our own internal inspections, but one of the items that was added was a moisture barrier test and a vapor barrier test. That was added that we don't have the ability to run that test to make sure that it passes.
But we have the same company test our equipment to be replaced that we buy it from.
Because they're right now in the area, from my understanding, I did not do any of the research on it, but they were the most competitive price. Honeywell, which is Morning Pride, I don't believe they're running that service right now.
There's obviously a huge opportunity for conflict of interest.
Oh,
That's what I was just
absolutely.
gonna say.
So it's obviously something we should audit. I'm
Yes.
sure we do, but we should be closely auditing that.
Well, we have an internal committee as well. Right?
Yeah, we have a person that manages fire gear that reviews everything that comes back. And, you know, they've broken it down on a fee schedule over 10 years where it becomes less cost effective for the amount of repairs. So an 8-year-old set of gear that has $750 worth of repair is not cost effective to repair.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the detail.
motion on page 104.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 09927 to Phoenix Safety Outfitters for 56 sets of fire gear in the amount of $154,000 and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item is a request to renew the
Mr. Zariff, can I have 1 minute?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to make note, we just received a thank you from a resident for two of our firefighters, Chris Ferguson and Dave Ekman. They went on a call of a gentleman who'd fallen off a ladder while repairing his flagpole. He ended up having some pretty significant injuries. Once he was transported, our crew went ahead and repaired his flagpole, and he came in and was talking about it, and the significance to him for having his flagpole repaired was he received that from his neighbor, who was a survivor of Pearl Harbor, and he had promised his neighbor just before he passed that he would always maintain the flagpole. So our guys got that fixed, repaired, and got his flag up for him. So he came in and wanted to pass on a thank you to the department. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
You got one.
Yeah, we got one more item. We
Oh,
got two
okay.
more before you get up there. The first is request a renew of the fire station alerting system. Budget justification starts on 104 with a motion on 105. And Chief Dorson or Nathan, either combination thereof.
I will defer it to Nathan if there are any
Answer any
questions.
questions.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase request
10,000.
10,007. To Motorola Solutions for fire station alerting maintenance and support contract renewal in the amount of $33,506 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Board, and last but not least for the chief, 106 begins the biweekly report. Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody and all their work.
Once upon a time, I was looking through a packet the other day, and I saw where the chief had put together a graph of how many beds were in use. You guys had asked for that once upon a time. I didn't know if he was going to come back and do that. Do you remember that?
As far
For
as
the
nursing
senior
homes.
care?
Senior care.
Yeah, we'll update that report once a new facility opens up to show. And that's working with prevention once one of those.
Chase Harbor just
so,
opened.
Yeah, so Chase Harbor would require it, and there's another one being proposed or in the process of being built. So.
And I think we need to, for the record, I think we need to make sure that we communicate to the city of Beavercreek on those issues, because having been in those other seats, we were not aware as a city council how those different beds of memory care centers that have sprung up a lot in Beavercreek and Beavercreek Township, how it affects the fire department. And I think that council would be happy to be aware of those numbers and make sure, because once we're allowing things to go on, but yet it impacts our fire department directly, and so we need to make sure we communicate pretty closely on those things that are happening, because we have a lot of memory care Alzheimer units in this community.
Yeah, just a lot of extended care facilities, period.
Especially in touch during levy discussions.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great point.
Okay. Take note. Thank you.
Board, that's all I have.
All right. Ms. Frick?
Nothing.
Ms. Aarons?
I have the two resolutions for the transfer funds. Remember at the last meeting, it was just, they were a little sparse. So they're broken down into two resolutions this time. So one, you know why you're transferring money. The first time is for payroll, where it's coming and where it's going. And then the second one is to transfer for the purchase of the new ambulance. So it just kind of spells it out a little cleaner, and I appreciate you giving me the time. Jan was just working on this, which is why you didn't have it sooner. But that's,
Make sure
read through those.
I get it, but I wanna make sure that the administrator is,
Oh, yeah.
looks at that.
Yep. And then if I can ask for your indulgence, I know Jan is still working on the permanent appropriations resolution, which is why she's not here. So if we could just postpone that till maybe the executive session and then come back out and revisit that. Definitely want to get that before you today, because it's it's due at the end of the month.
I see no problems with that. We'll push that to the end.
You wanna burn through the committees?
So yeah, so real quick, are you ready to do that?
You ready?
They're good? Well, which one are we gonna do first?
Payroll.
I'll read this one.
All right, I make a motion for a resolution transferring funds for payroll, as presented.
Do we wanna read these?
You don't have to, I'll go ahead and put the information in the minutes.
Okay. As long as we
Want me
get
to
it,
read it, Don?
I don't think so necessarily.
as long as we get it
As
on
long
the
as
minutes.
you say what the purpose of the resolution is.
Transferring funds for payroll to establish capital funds, projects, 4901 new ambulance and 4903 ALS fire engine in accordance with ORC section 5705.13-C
As presented.
as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kretz,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution transferring funds for the purchase of a new ambulance as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kretz,
Yes.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes. All right. Committee reports. MVRPC.
There was no meeting.
Okay. TAC.
That was canceled.
Wonderful. RPCC is tomorrow. No health. Superintendent.
There was was somebody able to go, Alex?
No, I wasn't able to, it was the timing of it, no one was able to go. The meeting notification, as Ms. Wallace was indicating, went out just a week before the meeting, so.
And I've since talked to the health department and asked them to, they're gonna have a meeting, they need to have a notification.
A little more in advance.
More than 1 week.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it
Sure.
on my calendar.
Sure.
Maybe they could just provide minutes or something.
Yeah.
Alex, city manager and school super.
Sure, superintendent, we met on a couple occasions, obviously regarding, some of the activities the schools are looking at, levy coming up, and then, we served together along with the city manager on the, public committee for the, facilities, public forums. There were 3 meetings, warranted some of those questions we talked about earlier. The next time, the committee that I'm on is meeting is April 1st. We'll wrap that up and give a formal recommendation to the school board. City manager and I met, a lot of discussion regarding the grant that both jurisdictions received from the county, and some discussion on some projects. One area that we discussed was looking at engineering costs to upgrade the intersection of Indian Ripple and Alphabet. City is gonna, I believe it's on their agenda tonight to talk about some additional options, and get a feel where council wants to go with that as well, whether they wanna do something separate or wanna do something jointly with the township. That's all I have on that. And there was, I'm anticipating this summer a meeting with the, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board.
Got it. Township Association meeting. That was Mr. Geyers.
Yeah, we had Mr. Geyers, I think we touched on that a little bit at the last meeting, or no, at least what was discussed. I think I presented some of the bills. I will update you, and based on the Greene County Township Association, we did hear from the ODOT director. I think he made it perfectly clear to the group there that he was not happy with the House's version of the gas increase for road projects. I will tell you the Senate has taken even lower than that, and now the Senate and the House have to come together and come to some sort of agreement. both or less, from what the governor's asked. Some of the other things that, affect the townships, a little more going towards the townships and local jurisdictions are in both bills. The increase for cities and townships to, put another $5 license plate fee tax on is an option. That makes the final bill, and the board chooses to do that, the city chooses to do that, they have to do 2 public hearings, much like we did when we did our last $5 increase. And you can see that the governor is pushing real hard, with the state legislator saying that either bill's not gonna work. It just doesn't even cover the interest in what we owe, statewide for road projects.
Investment Oversight Committee, are we any closer to a meeting there?
I saw an email from
Yeah,
April.
right, April 8th, Ms. Aaron's, that's when
Correct.
Morgan Stanley will be here.
Yeah,
Okay.
next meeting.
And I had requested that if Morgan Stanley, if we can circulate his presentation by this close of business this Thursday, so we all have time to review it before the meeting. And then the second thing I'd request is, last year Jan provided, or Ms. Aarons, you provided, I can't remember which one. I think it was Jan. It was a report essentially, so that showed the monthly income from each of our accounts. So if we could have that for 2018 calendar year, and then 2019 interim, just so we can see the income that came off of each of our accounts. If we can have that my understanding was last year it was a report she printed off. It wasn't something that was custom created.
I will ask her about that.
Same report we got last year essentially, that showed the income from each account on a monthly basis and then the annual income. So for 2018 and 2019 interim.
Okay.
That would give everybody all the information before the meeting.
I don't know if Brian will get that to you by this Thursday, though.
That's not Brian, that was Jan.
Yeah, I know, but then I thought you said that you had requested
A copy of his
information from him.
presentation.
Yeah, his presentation.
I don't know that he'll have it to you by this coming week, by next Thursday, when
The
you
Thursday
normally
prior
see-
to the
before
April
this
8th. I'm sorry,
okay,
yeah.
I just wanna make sure.
And the same on Jan's report too, the
Okay,
the
just wanna make
the
sure.
Thursday
That would
prior
be
to the April 8th.
the 4th.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Kretz, anything else?
No.
Ms. Wallace?
No, I have nothing else.
I only had one other comment, and I apologize if we did go over it. Mr. Parks, the old unit, what's happening with that when it's removed from the library?
They will actually remove it for us.
And they'll haul it away? There's no value to that?
We probably have more money tied up in trying to get it out there, to end up selling it for that, than it would be.
Just get rid of it? Okay. All right.
I had one thing I forgot about.
Go ahead.
Do you mind? We had talked about, getting a stamp about late fees, and we're gonna talk about what the legal thing we could put on a stamp to say that we don't pay late fees. Can we revisit that, please? And
Yeah.
then are we revisiting that whenever anybody in the township signs any kind of contract, that it comes to you to be crossed out so that there's no...
Yeah, and I generally look for that in the contract. It's generally not something that I see very often in the actual contract of it, but yeah.
I might suggest also that on if we just adjust our purchase order format so it prints it on every purchase order that says a friendly reminder that
Yeah.
we're not subject to late fees.
We can do that with the new software as well.
Yeah.
So whatever, if we
Well,
go with a
until
stamp,
then,
yeah.
we just thought, but I know there, something legal.
Even then you could rubber stamp.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I know we'd talked about it, I just didn't
Yeah,
want it
I
to fall.
apologize. Alex did ask
Yeah.
me about that too, and, I will make sure that you have that here.
And then I will get you the list of that, we're still working on it.
Okay.
So thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
Got it.
Make a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22 G1, to consider the compensation of a public employee.
Second?
Mr. Kretz,
Yes.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, at 2:23. 4:07 PM. We will look for a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes. And I believe, Ms. Aaron's, you have something for us?
So we need to, as the township, pass our permanent appropriations, and just like I did last year, I've done 2 resolutions, one by fund level, one by program level. Fund level is where it is now, and I understand some of the benefits of having it at that level. It, allows us to, I guess, pay bills quicker. What it doesn't do is it doesn't keep, in my opinion, the trustees in the loop, especially as we go into a year of spending down a levy cycle. That's my opinion. I know that there's difference, and I know when I, walked in, there was conversation about that, so.
Can you expound on how it, just so I'm aware of what your concern is on what are we not aware of as we go into the spend down of the levy cycle?
Every time a purchase order comes before you, you should know whether there's enough money in that account code to pay for that purchase order that they're asking for. When we are at the program level, if there is not enough money in that line item, then a resolution has to be brought to you to move money into that line item so that you can pay it. Right now, I think sometimes you're under the assumption that we follow a budget. We don't follow a budget. You approve amounts, and then as the year goes on, money's moved around from account code to account code within the fire fund, or nothing illegally. I mean, it's completely fine, but you don't know what has actually transpired in those line items. We're already in the first quarter, and we've already had to move money. Why?
But but when we get a purchase requisition that comes before us, it has on there the amount that's in that line item, the amount that's being spent out of that line item, and then the remaining balance on that line item. That was on every purchase request that came across this bench today.
Well, so the one I gave you does not, because it's cost allocated, and I haven't seen,
Sure.
what is
But the
in each one of the lines.
But from a fund level standpoint, we know the money's there.
So let me say this. I'll say this because I just want to make this clear. I've said it 4 or 5 times, but this will be the last year on the budgeting model that we currently have in place. It will no longer exist come September 1st, period. So you will probably in August, depending on what we agree to on authorities and who does what in the software. Once that is all determined, I'll be presenting another or an amended budget and purchasing policy to the township. So first of all, the 3-year plus or minus CPI, the rolling 12 months plus or minus CPI is gone. The software does not do that. It actually works on a much better formula, and we paid extra, as the board knows and the fiscal officer knows, we paid extra to pull in 10 years worth of data, because they only go back 3. We asked for 7 of the UAN, and the 10 that we collected, the 3 additional years above that we've been doing in regards to the 10-year funding cycle for the fire department. So we're bringing 10 years worth of data, which will be excellent for trends. So for example, if last year we spent $200 in a line item, and we transferred $800 in there to cover other costs in that line item, which we have in contingencies in the budget stabilization fund as well. So we moved it either out of one of those 2 line items to put in there. The software is going to err on whoever's entering each department that is putting their own budget in. It's going to err. It's going to say, hey, just let you know you spent $800 or $900 out of this line, and you only budgeted $100, and this year you want to put $300 in. Are you sure you want to do that? So that will be part of the software as well. The other thing too is in regards to purchase requests, we will be going to a requisition system under there where you'll have to ask for it first and then bring it to the Board of Township Trustees. So the requisition will be put in. So if it's over the 2,500, you put the requisition in, we will know, one, what's in the pipeline, and if Nathan's got a purchase request over, I'm just using Nathan as an example, he's sitting in a room, and he put it in for 200, and I put it in for 300, and there's only, 400 in the thing, it won't let me bring that to you. So, then there's a whole other process that we'll be going through. I've had this discussion with staff, and quite frankly, the only department that said, really, we don't care, was at the staff meeting, was fire. The rest of the departments had some concerns going back, because it does create additional work for staff to do it at the program level. So we are, this is, I can't stress this enough, this is like 2.0 when it comes to what we're gonna be doing this year into 2020. And in fact, you'll see more of a line item form of budgeting than a program-oriented budgeting, which you have seen for the last several years. We're not doing like the county does, zero-based budgeting. So you're going to see more of a line item form of budgeting when we get into that process. So I would just say that the way we're doing things is going to dramatically change beginning. Well, it's going to start at the end of this year, because the go live date, the new budget for 2020 is going to be put into the new software.
Good.
Until then,
So which one do you want?
you're not. I mean, it is your choice. I am not here to tell you one way or the other. I understand. I will tell you, for the majority of the years that I have been fiscal officer, it was at the program level that those trustees wanted to know where the money was and where it was going. I can tell you our contingencies is a lot less now than it was when those trustees were sitting at the table. That's my concern. Are you looking at the financials? Are you watching the money? Because I have a stack of not transfers, but reappropriations in Jan's office that is unheard of when Jim was here, because that board didn't do that. We didn't transfer money like that.
Nor did we have that formula.
And we didn't, and I agree,
So let me clarify that.
Yeah, because
You're
when
right.
when I came on the board, we were essentially budgeting almost double what we were spending every year. And so we never had to move money because we budgeted double what we needed. And now what we've done is we've actually reversed that to the point where we're budgeting less in some cases than what we might spend. But what happens then is when we do, it forces them to bring it back to the board to do a transfer and to get approval. And so it was actually, in my opinion, there was more risk before when, okay, if we on an average year spend 1 million, we budget 2 million, it never comes back. The request never came before the board.
Well, they
And
did,
it also
because we
gave
still
a
had to
false,
move
it also
money.
gave a false sense of, and that's, I was a big arguer as far as in favor of, and I'm not against change. If there's a better way, and I think what we're headed to is better than what we have now. I think what we have now is better than budgeting double what you're gonna spend so that you, out of convenience sake.
It keeps evolving to a better state, I think.
So it is a work in process, there's no question.
Agreed.
But
you're not budgeting double now.
no, we're budgeting
You're
spot
budgeting-
on or slightly
You're
tighter
budgeting
than.
less. In some, it's
Right, and so
it's all
but
around,
again,
so-
but each time it's less, it actually forces the discipline of they have to come and ask. It's not an automatic transfer.
What are they asking?
To transfer from contingency
They're not
to.
asking anything. By fund,
No,
they're
by
not
fund level,
transferring.
By
they're not
fund
doing
level,
it.
correct, but if, that's,
Now, if we had to do a transfer like we did earlier, where we were running out of money in one, and we had to pull from another fund, or let's say general had to support another fund because they ran out of money, then that would definitely have to come to the board. So the question is, is it a macro level in regards to what the elected officials do, and allow staff in the fiscal office and my staff to determine where it needs to be on the micro level, or do we want to go back to the micro level? And quite frankly, it is totally going to change next year. And
I think if you go back to if we ever went back to a part-time administrator, then you would have to go back to a different level. I think based on having, and a lot of this came about when we came to a full-time administrator, and then we essentially said allow the administrator to manage the department heads and allow the department heads to manage their department, and get away from a trustee micromanaging the department head. That's where we were.
So one additional thing.
And that's one trustee doing that and the next trustee micromanaging another way.
Right, to the point where trustee meetings were 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because one trustee had to hear everything, and he wanted a time study of what every department head did.
That's
And again, so we've evolved.
So if the 4 elected officials said no to the software earlier this year, or late last year, I'm sorry, I would be coming to you with a policy change in regards to the budgeting process. I don't think the rolling 12 months plus or minus CPI is working for every line item, and I agree. So my point is, I guess stay tuned, because it's going to change either way. So if we weren't going with the software, you would get another recommendation for me that would meet somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
But I think this software is really going to dramatically reduce. And let me explain kind of what we have now. And I know you've heard me say this, but right now we have an upside down funnel, and all that goes to one person. What we're going to do with the software is we're going to reverse that, so that all the work is done at the employee level in regards to entering requisitions, receiving their PO requests, putting scanned documents in, of shipping papers and invoices and everything else. All that's going to be taken out of where it's currently at and done at the staff level. So as we go up in regards to authority, it is reviewing and approving, as opposed to right now where it's backwards, where we just have a pinch point at the end. And I couldn't tell you if Nathan and I both have access to the same line item for budgeting purposes, and we do currently. There's things that cross what I oversee in regards to IT that has a direct impact of some of the responsibilities Chief Easter has as well. I don't know if he put something in 2 weeks ago.
In an automated system.
In an automated system, it would air me out. I wouldn't even allow him to do that. Or I could see that it's in there, and I know we are getting low in that line item. And there'll be a separate process. And there will be an approval process for transferring money from either the budget stabilization fund or the contingency lines in each of the funds.
Alex, don't forget, but at least some members of this board have been pressing for this software improvement for years.
Yes, I agree. And we're moving forward, and we're going to get it in, and it's going to be a new way of doing business for everybody. And the policy is going to be clear, much like when we implemented OSL. If you don't enter your time into OSL, if it's an overtime request, we're still obligated by federal law to pay, but that person's subject to discipline for not putting it into the system. So you're going to see the same language in the budget and purchasing policy. If you make a purchase without going through the software, you're going to be subject to discipline.
So Alex, your recommendation is that we leave things the way they are for now?
Yeah, I would recommend fund level. I understand Ms. Aaron's concerns, but after talking with staff, I think we keep it at the fund level for this year, and then we can reevaluate it after the software goes into effect. But I think there's going to be a lot more controls, a lot more information that will be able to provide it. Heck, I can set up weekly emails to all 4 elected officials.
You can send alerts.
And anytime I do an acquisition or a transfer, we can set the system up to email all 4 of you.
I am fabulous with wherever we're going.
We're heading that way.
I say
My question is, how, then, I'm fine. Like I told you, whatever you guys decide is fine. That's what I'm going to do. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to bring attention to you. That's my goal. That's my job. My question then to Alex, though, is how can we move forward, and how can you help to make sure that the line items are keeping enough money in them so that I'm not getting a bill and having to stop paying bills and move money around to pay the bill? Can you come up with a solution for that? Because
I
it's
can't.
taking a lot of time.
I can, and I agree with you. It's an antiquated, old way of doing business. I will tell you, since I've been here since 2011, and we can go back and look at all the minutes, we can go back and look at all the tapes since we were doing it, I have said, we need to move forward. We need to go to new accounting practices
It's not the
that are
accounting
money.
system, it's
No,
the
it is.
people too.
I agree that
It's
some
both.
of
So
it's both, and it's a combination.
Let's not tear anybody down, let's just,
And I'm
I
not
asked,
saying that.
how
What I
can
am
we
saying
move forward
is,
to make it better?
we need to have those checks and balances is gonna be automated. Where before, I cannot tell you if an employee before me has put in a request higher than what's in the line item. I can't. So I look at a report, like today, if I looked at a report today, I could put the amount in. I don't know what's been in
All
the
right, so
process for
do you
the
have-
last 2 years.
Do you
I
have
don't
the
know.
one
Just 1 second, I just wanna say that, I don't know what's been put in for the last 2 weeks. So when I fill out the purchase request that comes in front of the Board of Township Trustees today, it's based on data that is old. And what we're gonna have is real-time data. Now, I agree, there are some issues if someone went and purchased something that was not budgeted or not, it's not that we don't have the money, I wanna make that
Correction
clear.
though, but at the time you wrote the request, and the request that was brought to us, there was money in the budget. Since that time, someone may have started working on a new request.
Correct, and I don't know that.
But again, that wouldn't be approved until it comes before us, which means that the requisition you brought to us, we knew the money was there when you wrote the request and when you brought it to us for a vote. Period. That was
So,
the whole gist of, we don't
short-term,
know.
yes.
Pardon me, 1 second. What the statement was is that we don't know that the money's there for what we're voting on. And I believe that's false. I believe when you wrote that request and the department head sign-offs on it, and you bring it to this meeting and you lay it in front of us, at the time that you wrote that and at the time you present that for a vote, the money's there to approve. There may be another one coming right behind it that's gonna exceed the amount that's in that line. And we don't know that, and we don't really, I don't wanna say we don't care, but we'll care about it when it comes to us for
Right.
approval. There could be 100 requests. There's
Yeah.
not enough money for them.
And the other
So-
thing we've done in regards to the budget purchasing policy, and I don't know what number it is, and it can probably rattle off, is it has to be put in that request to you, and that if it's over 2,500, whether or not it's budgeted or not. The budget and purchasing policy, and when I say the budget justification starts on page whatever, there's a line where they have to make reference back to the budget. And if it's not, they have to explain why
Right.
they're moving that money, or
Just
eventually
let Alex
moving
take a
money
look at
from
that.
contingencies. So, I appreciate all the, I can't stress this enough. It is gonna be a major change on the way we do things. It's gonna be a learning experience, but I think we're gonna have better controls over the day-to-day operations of the township, and the finances of, not that we're, spending money that's not there. I agree, sometimes we're spending money that's not in a line item, but it's either in the budget stabilization fund or the contingency line, so.
And Ms. Aaron's, both of these documents are identical?
Yes, one's for us, one's for the auditor.
Great,
We'll get both of them
thank you.
signed, it's exactly how it was last year.
Right.
What's the third one?
No, that was just at the program level, like I said,
Yeah, this one's probably fun one.
and that one's by fund level too, that you were looking at.
I'll make a motion to approve the permanent appropriations for 2019 fiscal year, based on fund level appropriations as presented.
I second that motion.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Need signatures on both of them.
Mm-hmm. This doesn't say who made it and who seconded it. Is that a?
No, I'll have it in the minutes.
Okay.
I'm sure.
there's nothing else to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, at 4:27 PM. Thank you all.